Look up, look down, look out. Here come the Monkees.
Mickey,
David,
Mike,
Peter.
We're talking about them in Monkeying Around. That's right, Monkeying Around has everything, including
interviews,
Episode reviews.
album discussions.
and other incredible surprises.
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the Monkees. Welcome back to Monkeying Around. This week we are talking about the two newest releases from the Monkees, the Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn Jones Ltd Super Deluxe Edition.
Hey, you did it.
I know, right? I got the whole thing in there. And also the A's, the B's, and the Monkees. And we are joined by special guest, Derek Miner from Mixing Links. Welcome, Derek. Or welcome back. I don't know that we've not had you on the podcast. Like
everyone's gonna be sick of me. They'll be glad that I'm not on the next one.
Never.
Thanks again.
Absolutely. And Alan Siler from Modern Musicology. Welcome, Alan.
Wata-tika-tatu.
Nice.
We got to start introducing him as a returning champion.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, returning champion.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I want to jump in real quick because we already have a comment before the show even started. Robert Thomason said, really enjoyed the Pisces show with Andrew Sandoval. Looking forward to this one tonight.
Yay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Try not to let you down. And also we had a comment from Irish Banshee 1974, which is Elaine. Elaine couldn't join us again tonight, but we're wishing you the best, Elaine. Hope you get to feeling better, and feel free to jump in with your comments.
Hi, Elaine.
Yay.
Sorry you're not with us.
All right. So did we want to start with the A's and the B's?
Yes.
Okay.
So my first thought, it shouldn't have been all of the A's and then all of the B's. It should have been A, B, A, B, A, B in the order they were released, because any other way is stupid.
Okay.
Oh,
Life.
come on.
Hot take right out of the gate.
Right.
If a CD
Everything else is
like
stupid.
played that way and that way, it would be A's and B's, but it's disc 1, disc 2.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree about that. I think I would enjoy A, B, A, B, A, B.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, that's not a deal breaker for me.
No.
No, it's not a deal
quite as hard a
breaker.
line as you've got.
I know. I'm saying that I am right and they were wrong.
Okay.
Not
Well,
that I won't buy it, but they are wrong.
I'll say I think it's a very nice looking package
Yeah, it
for the A's
is.
and B's. I think it's a nice idea for
Yes.
a reissue.
Mhm.
It's getting all the singles. They did a very good job, I think, of putting it out at an affordable price point for
Yes.
what it is. For it's a 2-disc set, and I think it sounds great.
absolutely does.
Oh, Robert Thomason has a good comment here, Veronica. That says running order like an old stackable record changer.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. You can.
Yeah.
So now you just pretend you stacked all your Monkee singles, and we actually have a record changer in the other room,
True.
and it's playing through all of them. Then we flip it. Of
That's
course, I guess
right.
we would have to flip it and then reorder them.
And
We could-
reshuffle.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. See, like if you have the vinyl, you
Mhm.
could play six of the tracks, 6 of the B-sides, and then flip
Yeah.
them and do the
Mhm.
last 6. Like
Yeah.
that record changer.
It's also on Spotify though, so you could just make your own playlist.
True.
That's true.
Well, what did you guys think of it?
I kind of halfway agree with Veronica
Okay.
and halfway like the way that they did it.
Okay.
Because let's face it, there have been innumerable collections of Monkees songs. So you have to find a way to make yet another one different and interesting and have a novel approach to it. And I like the, because when we're talking about singles and the A's, I want to talk about this a little bit, but it's interesting the ones that they picked and the ones that they didn't pick, and so it's kind of an interesting collection. And there's a couple of tracks, for instance, Teardrop City, which does not frequently make it onto these kind of collections. Now, it is a single that charted. It wasn't like a big hit or anything, but it did chart. But should it have taken a space away from some other song that was more successful or something? So I think it's a really interesting collection, and it's an interesting listen because you hear things that other similar types of collections don't have, at least not often. And then you get to the B-sides and you get some really cool stuff on the B-sides.
Yeah. What do you think, Derek?
It's an interesting idea. There are so many collections, and this is a collection that is not going to duplicate one that already exists, but it is kind of, it's like no matter what order you put stuff in, Monkees collections kind of get bizarre, because even in that short period of time, 4 years, like there was all over the place with different types of songs. You know, you went into the very mid 60s straight up pop stuff, into some ballady stuff. You got Someday Man, you got heavy psychedelia with Porpoise Song, and it's like so at least if you're good, you know, this they had a very clear vision that this is the US singles, the A sides and the B sides. We could all say like, oh, well, they could have done some other things. They could have put the promo versions of the Teardrop City single in there, because there was a mono promo single and a stereo single that was released. But no, these are what was on the stock copies. These are the releases that you could buy on 45s. And I know that when they were planning this, Bill Inglot had collected up rips of his recordings of his own 45. And so they knew that they would have just the right versions of the tracks. And the only interesting thing is, from a mixing person standpoint on here, is that I don't know if they have an exact tape of the single that was released for Stepping Stone.
Oh, okay.
It is the single for Stepping Stone is a shortened version of what's on the album. So it is not a different mix. It's just faded out earlier. This version's very close. It is not exactly faded out exactly the same way as the 45, but that's negligible. It's still the same mix, and it comes out to the same length. But that's just like the stuff that Craig Smith and I are always like, that's why we have all these notes on these records. And so like, if people can learn those things and make notes of them between the differences. Yeah. But do you guys have, Chuck, Veronica, did you get the vinyl copy also?
We got the vinyl and the CD, but I mean, honestly, I've mostly listened to it on Spotify just while I'm at work and things like that.
A little easier.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, I listening on Spotify, I think it may work better as a disc, where you can put a disc in and you listen to the A's, put a disc in, you listen to the B's. Whereas on Spotify, you know, you get to Oh My, and then all of a sudden you're at Take a Giant Step, and it's a little bit jarring. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're rewinding back to the beginning of the Monkees and listening through them again. Yeah. And I will say,
good point. That's a good point about Spotify. I kind of noticed that same thing, where it's like you go through chronologically, and then all of a sudden you're back at the beginning.
And I do think that I would have liked to have had, as we go along, following Porpoise Song. I think those two, you know, I mean, but I mean, you can say that for really a lot of these, because the Monkees were in a similar place when the A's and the B's were recorded, even in the times that they're very different. Yeah. And Veronica, were you about to point out what he had just said about that it wasn't the single mix? And
no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm giving Veronica a hard time, because famously she cannot tell the difference between any of the different versions.
That's why I was listening to Derek, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's cool! I didn't know that."
Hey, it's she's very into that kind of thing, even though she can't tell. Right. She'll never notice it herself, but when someone points it out, it's fascinating. But I didn't know with the vinyl, you guys, like the interesting thing about this, I think, as a design point, is they decided to do a top loader.
Yeah.
So all the records come out like just from the 45 sleeves on the top.
Right. But it's not what you see on the picture. There's like a picture of the record peeking out the top.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they didn't do the little cutout. They simulated that. And shout out to designer Steve Stanley. He has worked on these types of classic 60s stuff reissues forever. He's very attentive. Andrew and him work together on a lot of stuff, but also he's very attentive to like the period fonts and everything like that. He's recreated the type for some of these old records, and so that they can just use them on CD and vinyl reissues. Okay. So it's like always great to see him do like great work. And they did some slight differences in the CD booklet from the vinyl packaging as well.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I'm going to grab a couple of comments real quick. Chris McGovern, the Gen X Muse, said, "Hey guys, how is Elaine? She's recovering. She's doing well. I don't want to get too much into. I'll let Elaine share what she wants to share when she gets back, but we're excited to get her back, but certainly going to give her time." Robert Thomason says, "Like Daydream Believer followed by Righting Wrongs. That is as bizarre as you can get." And then goes on to say, "And when you see an end in sight, the beginning may arrive." You may have just turned around my opinion there. Oh, and Elaine says, "Chris, I'm doing okay. Still some pain, but we've also been dealing with my dad in and out of the hospital since last week."
Yeah.
So Elaine's got a lot going on. But thank you for making the time to watch the show, Elaine.
Yes.
And then Robert Thomason said the album art is really great.
Yes.
And yeah, I agree. I think there's been times, and well, specifically, I think the most recent one I remember is there was a psychedelic release a few years back that I felt was sort of hastily assembled and looked kind of cheap. I don't want to criticize anybody who may have worked on that, but to me, this is a more appealing package and just has a clearer vision, and that they executed very well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then Elaine, Chris McGovern said, "Great to see you."
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think this is great. I hopefully we'll get more things of a similar vein, even if they're just reissues over the course of the year, being that this is the Monkees' 60th year. I'd love to get some sort of specific reissues like this. Like I said, have a clear vision for what they want to do, and not just slapping some Monkee songs on there together,
Yeah.
you know?
It's something I would like to see that they probably won't do for a while because they just released this, but I'd like them to re-release the 45s because I think 45s are still cool because you can still play them.
Yeah, I don't know if enough people are going to buy them.
I know.
Pressing vinyl is more expensive than CDs.
Right.
So it'd be hard to make their cash back on that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I would buy them.
Of course you would.
I'm the average consumer.
There you go.
Welcome to the Average Consumer Podcast.
Right.
I will say I have a Spotify playlist that I made, I don't know how long ago, that I call The Monkees by the Monkees. And it's nothing but Monkee songs written or co-written by the four guys.
Okay.
So it's, there's a lot of things that are typical Monkee songs that are not included there. My probably favorite, well, maybe not favorite, but I think the best Monkee song ever is Pleasant Valley Sunday. So that's not there because that was written by somebody else.
Sure.
So, the I guess the downside of that, if that were developed as a CD package like this, is that Davey becomes a little less represented because he just did not contribute to the songwriting as much as the other guys. The flip side of that, though, is that you get a lot more Peter Tork. He, because there's a lot of stuff of his that ends up on the Missing Links collections and things like that. So there is a trade-off, but like when we get to our next topic, I've got some things to say about Peter, and the A's and the B's, there's very little Peter.
Yeah. One more question about this before we move on. Would you have liked to have seen more, maybe international singles included?
Yes.
Things like I almost said alternative title because my brain was in the fact that it was released as a single in England, but like Randy Scousegit and songs like that were released as singles internationally, but not in the US.
Yes. Or a second collection like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
International singles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That maybe who knows?
A marketing genius.
That's right. That's great. That'd be a great follow-up.
I've just given two great ideas to Rhino. Come on, Rhino. Good job.
They could have, if you did an international one, you could have the Tema de Monkees on there. That's always a single. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's smart.
Yeah.
Luckily, everyone from Rhino watches this show, so that
someone does. Come on.
All right. Elaine commented, "Yeah, I can't tell the difference between some of the different mixes either."
But now with implants, you might be able to.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true.
I feel so bad for saying that.
Robert, that's true. Robert's comment: throw in the Australian singles, and you get a ton of Davey.
Well,
they love Davey over there. I think they get 2 4-track EPs of just Davey over in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's $1 million idea. Well, it's a several $1,000 idea.
There you go.
Definitely go for it. All right. Well, we want to get over talking about Pisces? Because I feel like we're all going to
Yeah.
have something to say about the Pisces Super Deluxe.
Yes.
Okay.
It's huge. And
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact that I can't tell the difference between the mixes, I really enjoyed all the times where you heard them recording and stopping and chatting and talking to each other about what to do and change. I thought that was the best part of this.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, I thought words in particular was a highlight. Both the vocal session, as they call it, and then also the version of words you get that's just the instruments and the background vocals. I think so. There are times when I'm listening to a set like this, and I'll get to a backing track and just get ready to sing along to something else, But I think that words really works having the background vocals there, because then now you can sing every whatever fourth word or whatever it is of the song, I
mean, I do that sometimes anyway when the full song's playing. So
right. But I thought that was a treat, and hearing them, I'd listen to more sessions, because I just love hearing the behind the scenes, and Mickey's got a frog in his throat that day, and that sort of stuff I really enjoy.
I don't remember which track it is, because I listened to there's a lot of tracks.
Yes.
Right. And so I don't remember which track it was that I heard it, that I noticed this on, but it was so sloppy. And it sounds like it might be the first time that group of musicians sat down to play that song together.
Right.
And it's fascinating to hear that kind of thing, because then when you listen to that and then you listen to the final version and how polished it is and how perfect it is, you kind of see that song going on that journey.
Right.
Is very, very cool.
And now, Derek, something that came out during, you joined us sort of last minute for our show with Andrew, but we found out during that show that you worked on this set, and we didn't know that when we invited you to be on it. So the folks who haven't seen our interview with Andrew yet, tell them what you did for this set.
So starting with the headquarters set, because Craig Smith and I have been in contact with Andrew over the years about different versions of things, and we've met up with him at the shows with he'll have a little bit of time to say hello to people sometimes when he was taking the shows out on tour. He just knew all the work that we've been doing on the mixes and tracking all that kind of stuff. So when he started working when he did the headquarters set, he wanted to get our opinions on the mixes that he made of the tracks for that. And then when it came time to do this set, he was very determined that he wanted to identify everything that had and had not been released, so that he could at least account for them. Whether he can include everything or not is another story, but what he wanted to try to include everything that had been out on other records, so that everybody could have it in one package, and then try to come up with as much unreleased stuff as he could too. So he let us take a listen to some of the mixing versions that he had to go through to pick out the tracks for the set.
Right.
So we did a whole breakdown of everything, and how many different mixes of things there were, and which ones were on which releases and things like that. Because there's also things all over the place here. There was one version of Star Collector that was only on the Monkee Business Picture disc and stuff like that, so that finally just link it all up to figure out which ones were which. So and then also Andrew mentioned when we talked to him the other day the TV mixes, because as part of that mix thing that Craig and I do is we've just listened to those TV mixes, so we could that was also, Andrew wanted to know okay, so these things that I've got from the magnetic tracks of the film masters, that he was mentioning, which ones are different and which ones aren't, and which ones have been out there and which ones haven't. So and then, as I mentioned in that show the other day, that in a couple of occasions, like the mixes are more complete on one show than another episode episode. So we also talked to him about making sure to come up with a version that represented of much of the whole track as possible. I think like a couple of songs like that matters with like a song with like Daydream Believer to get the TV version. It's the same version in both shows, but there's a couple of edits in one episode that aren't in another episode, and one fades out earlier and stuff like that. So
wow. He didn't call you, Veronica. He called Derek. That's
Go figure. The person that can tell the difference.
No, I think that's great. And we got a few comments here from Robert Thomason, who says, my favorite Monkees album is Pisces. No chimes in the backing track of words. And thank you, Derek, for all of your work on sets. I myself am deeply jealous.
Well, thank you.
And then went on to say, for those of us who could only hear these songs from the TV show in the bare 70s, it's great to hear these mixes again.
I'm going to go back to his first comment in that set.
Okay.
My favorite Monkees album is Pisces. That is the correct opinion. Because as great as all the albums are, and as great as Headquarters is, Pisces is just a remarkable record. That original LP, that original album that was released, is absolutely perfect representation of the four guys in the Monkees. Yes, you don't get a lot of Peter up front, except for the co-lead vocal but he does play a lot on the album. And I feel like all the songs are so incredibly strong, like every single one of them. And I'm a less big fan of Davy's songs usually than all the other guys, and I actually like all of his on this collection. So it's just a great Monkees record.
Yeah, I love the Davy songs where he gets a little growly.
Yes.
Now that's not a technical term, but you know what I'm talking about, though. Now I think that I think Davy's very well represented on this.
Yeah.
And one thing I love about both Pisces and Headquarters is that you often hear the Monkees singing, all the Monkees singing, right?
Yeah.
And you don't always get that on the early records or the late records.
Right.
You may get one or two with sometimes with just rando background people. Now they're not rando, but they're not the Monkees. And I just love on this where when you hear a background vocal and then it's Mike or it's Peter, I love that.
Yeah.
When I first sorry, Alan, because I want to get this out before I forget it. When I first started like really deep diving into the Monkees, I was shocked to hear how rarely they were singing their own backup, because when I was growing up, I listened to bands like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, and I always listened really hard. Yeah, I know. Look, that's when I listened to you. I was a preteen in the mid 90s. But I could pick out the different voices and listen to the harmonies, and I could hear them. And I thought I was doing that with the Monkees, but no, that was not them. It was probably voice and heart.
I was going to say that this sounds more like a band record than maybe any of their other albums. Headquarters also, but this one I think more particularly because the three musicians do play more on this record. And it's not that often that you get Mickey playing drums on an album, and he does here. And Peter is like all over the record. He plays lots of different parts, and vocally they're all well represented except for Peter, of course. That's the way it always goes. But you get a lot of really great, like top shelf Mike songs. And that's where my heart lives. I'm a Mike boy, like totally.
Yeah.
And the ones that he wrote, and even the ones that he did not write, they're just all so iconically Michael,
Yeah, I was going to say that a week ago when we were talking about the nominations for the Monkees Hall of Fame and talking about like when they were put together and went through like an improv boot camp, even though they were picked to all be part of a band, whether just as a visual concept or eventually to maybe play together. I seriously doubt that they picked them knowing they probably knew they could sing, but not that they could sing together.
Right.
And when you're talking about when they sing together and the harmonies, it's like, listen to their takes. You've got that we were talking with Andrew about the version of Ryu Shiyu that was recovered from a session that Mickey was overdubbing on, and it's the only other take besides the one in the TV show where they all four sing together. And that version, you really hear how well they can sing together.
Right.
That's a good example of it. And then it's also just like, you know, fans are really discovered over the years that like how well Mike and Mickey's voices blend together, and you get a lot of that on tracks on this record, you know. So yes, this is definitely a great record and a great collection to hear them working on those things where they're singing together.
Since you brought that up, sorry, I mean to jump in again, but since you brought that up, one of the things that I really love about this collection is I had no idea there were so many different versions of Ryu Chiyu. Right. And by that, I mean, every one of these recordings is different.
Yeah.
They're in different keys. They are at different tempos. One of them has hand claps and harmonies in that section, which is normally a Mickey solo section. And I was very surprised to hear how many different iterations of that one song that there were.
Yeah. So going back to what Derek was saying about the harmonies and all of this, especially with Ryu Chiyu, it baffles me that they did not do that with the Monkees, because like they were based on the Beatles, who were harmonies, and then the Beach Boys were big at the time, and they were like pure harmonies. It just baffles me that they didn't even consider doing that, because that was like the thing that was going on at the time was harmonies.
Yeah, you're talking about just doing more songs with
Yeah.
harmonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Mamas and the Papas were big in pop music at the time, and they were certainly harmonious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna jump back and grab a few comments.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you got some comments.
Yeah. So Robert Thomason said, "Can you imagine if this was a British release that would have 2 more songs? Add Going Down, and Daydream Believer to Pisces would be amazing."
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, you could add those 2
add
songs
those to
to
anyone.
any record, and it ain't gonna hurt. And he said Davey and his magical tambourine on Cuddly Toy. That version with the weird macho singing is my favorite. And
that one surprised me.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Speaking of Cuddly Toy, I was reading through the liner notes, and Andrew mentioned that Cuddly Toy was the last session where all the Monkees played on a session on a Monkee song until the 90s when Justice came out.
Wow.
And I think it's easy to forget when you're listening to the songs how involved they were at various points, because it changes obviously from album to album pretty dramatically in a lot of cases. But I think that's an interesting point, and I think if you haven't got a set and read through the liner notes, they're wonderful. A lot of really great information in there.
Because Andrew is amazing.
True.
There's that it is like a really interesting thing. It's like it kind of happened relatively, like there was this weird transition period from the period where they finished recording Headquarters through the period where it came out, and then before they started on their summer tour, that I think they were still finding out where they were going to go next. The beginning of this set has a couple of tracks that they kind of walked through and didn't really have a lot of commitment. They did finish Cuddly Toy. They tried there's a couple other tracks on here that they didn't get too far on. There was they didn't even title one of them because it's called I Don't Know Yet. And it's a very kind of like it doesn't and anyone who's familiar with their like past sessions would know that they had tried a few times during the Headquarters sessions to do Harry Nilsson's The Story of Rock and Roll. The sessions on here start out with another attempt to do that song that they didn't finish. Peter did 2 versions of Come On In that are different than the ones that he eventually finished and did vocals on and everything like that. But they tried one version of The Door into Summer, which got redone 2 more times through the sessions. It's kind of like they kind of were finding their way. And when they hit, I don't know if it was because Chip just had to write a good run of songs to pull in and work on, or what. But like right about the beginning of June, of that summer, they just went like right in a row. They did Pleasant Valley Sunday, Words, Daydream Believer, Salesman. It was like right into like all the heavy duty songs that just it's like they were in a groove. That's when the production on that record took off.
I had a comment from Ben, welcome Ben, that says, as good as the alternate versions are, the TV version is still the best in my opinion. If you like the TV versions, you're in luck, because there's a lot of them here that are released on CD for the first time.
Yes.
I think I think that way that comment read, I think he was thinking about reissue.
I think so.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was just
that's
like,
about when it came in.
Yeah. When I listened to that earlier, I was noting, like, I think that's the only the first part of Reissue, the one they use on the TV show, starts off with Mike singing solo, and all the other ones don't.
Right? Yes. I have a question for Ben. I just want to know, are you a Van Halen fan? Because they have an album called 5150, and that's in his handle. So I'm just curious. Just curious.
Yeah. Okay. One song title that really jumped out on me at this, was it Tentatively?
Yes.
Did you see Tentatively?
Yes.
That kind of struck me that Can You Dig It originally had a different title.
Yes. Well, I think that I don't think that was its title. I think he's saying it's tentatively called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I misread that then, because I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's quoted that way because that's what's on the session tape or the session log or something like that.
Yes.
They didn't have a title for it when they recorded those demos.
So did they write the word tentatively on the
session tape or something like that? That's where it would come from. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting then. And
then Ben says, yes, huge Van Halen fan and Monkees fan.
Yeah, can't go
Me
wrong.
too, buddy.
Robert Thomason says, every Monkees fan needs to give the biggest thanks to Andrew Sandoval. We are so blessed to have more material than any other group.
That's true.
And then he went on to say, those Peter sessions showed how great a guitarist he was.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about with this collection. My favorite thing on this entire collection is at the end, I'm looking at the CD version, and I'm listening only on Spotify because I don't have a physical copy. But and the credits are very limited on at least on the Spotify version. I don't know if there's something that's not there. So at the end of disc 3, there are 4 acoustic guitar instrumental pieces.
Yeah.
2 of those are credited to Peter. So I know that 2 of them are Peter just sitting there playing his guitar, and they're amazing. The other 2, I suspect are Peter, but I don't know for certain.
Okay.
And those 4 tracks, one is Untitled, one is A Man Without a Dream, Tear the Roof Right Off My Head, and Can You Dig It, Tentatively. And
yes, they're all Peter.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. And in the third one, he starts to, or I think it may be the third one, he starts to sing a bit, and the recorder or the engineer, whatever, says, let's not have any vocals, just play the part. And
lame.
And it's so, but it's,
what's wrong with you? Just let him do it.
But you get that moment of just Peter by himself in the studio playing, and we all know what a great musician he is, but this just isolates him and gives him his spotlight that he just normally does not get. And I'm such a big fan of the inclusion of those 4 tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've all been pretty glowing about this set since we started. Is there a criticism or something someone doesn't like about this set?
It's not long enough.
There you go. Where's disc 5?
Right. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
think so. I mean, the inclusion, there's a lot of stuff that's either on CD for the first time or not released before. And there's so much insight into the process and where they were at that time. And I think it's just a terrific collection.
Yeah, I love it when they break it down in the sessions and you hear just a different perspective on the making of the song.
Yes.
You can get that even too, just hearing the demos and different versions that they tried. It gives you a different appreciation for the finished product, because sometimes it's quite a journey to get from someone's original idea to what ends up on a record. And I love that kind of thing.
I know there's a sessions, headquarters sessions. Has there been a Pisces sessions? Am I just not remembering
No, there hasn't, and this is about the closest you get to it because the weird thing is that it's kind of you kind of get a hodgepodge of which songs get attention because not every song on the record has full master tapes. There are some songs that can't be remixed at all because you don't have anything to go with.
Yeah.
There's some parts that aren't there. Like you can't do a full brand new remix of Going Down because there's a version on here that's a backing track, but the version that they mixed the final version with the horns and everything, it's locked into the track. You can't take it out. You can't take the horns out separately, so you can't remix it. And then there's just like it's like we have at the end of the sessions, you get there's a lot of the chatter stuff that they use to do like the intro to Don't Call on Me and the intro, the spoken introduction track that didn't make it to the record, special introduction. And so those you get a lot of that because that's available. The words vocal session that's available, and it's just unfortunate like we don't have as much material of them doing alternate build-up takes or early takes, or there's just a lot of what's available is here. This is what you that's good
to know.
Yeah,
so this is basically the closest sessions we will get.
Yeah, that's something that Andrew commented on in the liner notes as well, was because the Monkees produced like 400 tracks or something along those lines over that period, and there was a mandate to retain all of it, but because there was so much such a great volume that there was a mandate not to retain a lot of that sort of extra stuff.
Yeah.
And there was something else about
big mistake.
You were asking is there anything we don't like, and the joke is he's like it's not long enough. I think like Andrew's very conscious of this. I think he knows there's people out there who would just take anything.
Sure,
they would love to hear everything that's in the vaults, and I'm one of those people. But there are things that are definitely most things I've never heard. There are things that like. I asked him about one. I can't remember exactly what track it was. I don't know if it was on this box set or Headquarters, but it was something I said, hey, what about this? And he's like, that doesn't make anybody look good. So it was the thing that is not really a good choice to put out for general public consumption. It's not fair to the guys. It doesn't make anyone look good. It's like, because you think about like, think about that performance of like a track like that. I Don't Know Yet. It's not really musically that exciting, but the Monkees are playing on it. And so he did want to include stuff like that because the Monkees are playing on it. But there are other jams and demos that took place during this period that aren't on this set, just because it's like some of them have no Monkees involvement, or like Eddie Ho, the drummer, did some drum improvisations, but there's no reason to put that on here. It's just Eddie Ho. Wasn't meant for a Monkees song. Well, see, that's what I mean. We'd all love to hear that.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. And so, but
was it fast?
Fast Eddie Ho, yes.
And for every one of us drummers that would love to hear that, there are 150, 200 other people who have zero interest in it.
Right.
I'm just saying, if the Monkees Vault was a streaming service, I would subscribe to it.
Sure.
I mean, why isn't it?
Okay, I'm gonna jump back and grab some comments real quick because they're sort of getting away from me here. So Elaine said Peter's always been vastly underrated as a performer and musician.
Yes.
Robert commented, yes, they're all Peter. That was back in regards to the guitar parts. Ben said, big fan of Peter's guitar work. Robert said, I want all of the words vocal sessions.
There you go.
Robert also said Headquarters Sessions was the first 3-disc extravaganza. And the I don't think you know me with David and Peter is supposed to be a disaster.
Okay.
And then Ben said, Derek, was it I'll Be Back Up on My Feet?
I can't remember. That might be. There might have been some other problem with I'll Be Back Up on My Feet, because now that you mentioned that track, there is in Andrew's book, it mentioned they did attempt a version of that, and I think anyone who would have seen that in the list of tracks that were attempted at this time would be like, I want to hear that. I actually, now that I think a little more about it, I think Andrew said that like the performances didn't even really get to the point where they had a full run through of the whole song. Was, I think, something that I heard about that. So it really didn't even get to the point where you could have a full run through of the whole track.
Yeah,
and that's a good example of what I'm talking about. That it's like we know, those of us who know that song would want to hear any version of it, but
yeah,
how interesting is it to listen to people kind of like make their way through half a song?
But
here's
the thing though, how many people that would not be interested in hearing that kind of thing are gonna buy this set?
None.
The audience for this kind of set is us. It's the people who want to hear that stuff, you know. The casual, music fan is not going to buy this set.
Album, yeah.
Like A's and B's is this is going to be out of date now, but the kind of set you could put on the shelf at Walmart back when they used to do that.
Exactly.
Whereas this less so,
Yeah.
Totally.
But I know there's a lot of actors as well who like they don't like bloopers coming out because their feeling is like, no, we worked hard on this and over and over and over again until we had it right and released our finished version. I don't want.
Then Burt Reynolds comes along.
I don't feel I watch him bump into the furniture and so forth. Now something I commented on during our show with Andrew was that there's some as psychedelic as some of this stuff gets. It seemed like they had the option to go more. You have that version of Star Collector where the move feels sort of unrestrained. You know what I mean? Or you have like the special announcement that seems like the sort of just like a funny interjection. Would you have liked to see more of that stuff on Pisces, or do you think that they carved out just the right amount?
I think they carved out just the right amount. You
want more of the psychedelia?
A little more.
Okay.
So
just a tad more.
But see, my heart is in the 60s, which is not quite so psychedelic. And I know
what year are you in? Where's your heart? What year's your heart in?
Well, musically.
The 60s were psychedelic. That's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Late 60s.
Okay. That's where this album came from. That's where they were recording it.
That is not what I think. Psychedelic, I think of extremely late 60s, basically 70s.
Well, no, it was no. But
okay. I am wrong. That is where my brain thinks it is.
Okay.
Well, is there anyone who likes righting wrongs more than anything on this record? If you're that person, you probably want more psychedelia on this record.
I think I wouldn't say I like righting wrong more, but I would like more psychedelia. So
because it's Star Collector, I think, is a good balance. It's like it's got a catchy verse and chorus, and then like halfway through the song it's like every part of the recording, because every part of the recording goes in some crazy way, because you can hear that in the more stripped back takes where it's just before they put the moog on and stuff like that. They're kind of like goofy, running around the studio making weird noises, and Mickey's going, I'm dying. It's kind of buried in the mix, but he's just saying that over and over again through half the song. He's like, I'm dying. And then they even had more of that kind of wacky vocal stuff with the moog later on. It's like they layered it all on. And it's like it's weird. There's none of us have an answer. Craig, Andrew have no answer for this, but there's basically like two sets of mixes for Star Collector, and the one half is just two of them are just the full length. There's a mono version, a stereo version. They just go the whole length of what they recorded. Then for some reason, there's like 15 or 20. There's two versions with 15, 20 seconds taken out. Why? Why not more? Why only 15, 20 seconds? It's just like basically like just, and it's all in the outro part. I was like, why did you need to cut it only that short? Like, but they're all here, so you have them. But I mean, it's like you probably didn't even notice that there were two shorter versions until I told you, because it's all just so weird. Like, how do you know what part do you recognize is missing unless you're playing them next to each other?
I would not recognize there was missing even playing next to each other.
Yeah, Veronica's not the person to be like, 5 minutes too short. 5 seconds too short. I'm gonna.
I would notice 5 minutes too short, probably.
Okay, so Robert Thomason said Mike was big a problem for that session.
Yeah.
Ben said, "Yep, I'd buy it."
Yeah.
Then Robert Thomason said, "I want the 20 disc set of any of the original 9 albums."
Heck yeah.
And also, I love righting wrongs.
See, there you go. He's the guy who wants the psychedelia.
That's right.
No, I think the set's great. I think he has a really good balance on here of you listen to the stereo albums and then you get some extras. You listen to the mono albums and you get some extra. Like I think it's laid out very well,
Yes,
and it's very listenable.
Extremely well.
There are times when you'll be listening to one of the same song 4 times in a row and that sort of thing, like different versions of it. And then I think it was a Beatles set, I think, with Tomorrow Never Knows, and I was playing it. And it was playing through several different versions, which is already sort of a strange song. And my daughter was in the back seat and she was little. And she's like, "Why won't this song stop?"
Yes.
It's a little too much of a good thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
there you go. See, that's what's it. That's the worry of the people at Rhino.
Sure.
Like we don't want that,
right.
especially people your daughter's age, Chuck.
Yeah. No, but no, I think he strikes a very good balance.
Don't lose
here.
them.
I think it's still a very, very listenable that you can put on listen to it, without having to feel like you are in academia. You have to hold a pipe while you listen to it and have your fancy headset on. It's very, I think it's a very fun listen as well.
Yes.
Holding the right kind of pipe. Very different.
When you get a Star Collector, it's time to swap pipes.
I mean, if you want more psychedelia, there you go.
There you go. Well, it sounds like that's a success for all of us.
Heck
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it a lot.
I'm biased.
Well,
Sure. I mean, we're all biased to an extent because we all love this album.
Yeah.
But yes, you have
Totally.
a little more skin in the game with this particular release.
It was my favorite. Also, it is my favorite of their main albums.
Yeah, well chosen. Robert Thomason says there were like 10 versions of 99 pounds on the HQ STE, and I love it.
62 inches.
I will say this is a total aside. This has nothing to do with this collection at all. But when I was in college and I was in the choir, and one holiday season, we, our choir directors handing out new material, and one of them was Rio Rio Gio, and I'm like, I know that song. But our version had like lots of percussion. It wasn't just hand claps. It was like tambourines and other percussion things that went all the way through it, and it was so much fun.
Oh,
it was so good.
Wow.
That's awesome.
All right. Anybody have any closing thoughts about the Pisces Super Deluxe Edition before we move on?
It is super.
It is super.
Get it.
Yep.
I did want to mention something about like the Andrew's mixes. Like we were talking a little bit on his show. I mentioned the period where they're moving from 4-track to 8-track.
Yeah.
At the end of this record, 8-track does come in, and because of that, there are a couple things that really got to have a nice full remix, and one of them is it's Hard to Believe, because all of that instrumentation is spread out across 8 tracks. So Andrew's new stereo mix of that and the backing track, you get to hear a lot of details in there that were kind of not as easy to pick out in the original version, because it was just the mix down into probably from 4-track and then to stereo. But so he was able to get everything out of the full 8-track.
That's a good point, because I did notice that, but I didn't really piece it together I listened to the last episode with you and Andrew, and you talked about the 4 tracks versus 8 tracks, and I didn't really piece that together. I don't think I was thinking about that song, but that makes such a difference.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the new mixes, the 2025 mixes that are on this release. I think they all sound wonderful. And it's easy when you're already attached to a song to have negative reactions when someone remixes it, but I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'd also say about those mixes that it's always interesting to hear when as I think Andrew gets the excitement to kind of share something that hasn't been heard before with all the fans as well. So when he does a remix and finds something like, oh, there were 2 vocal tracks on the master for what am I doing hanging around? So let's put them both into the mix. and then like the double tracked opening on Pleasant Valley Sunday, where stereo version had one of the vocals and the mono version had the other vocal, and now it's like there's a mix on here with both of them together. Now he was double tracked for the rest of the song, but just the first verse, the first verse, now you hear them together.
Yeah, well, and
Nice.
like I told Andrew on and our last podcast, is this comes together so well because he is such a fan and because he knows what the fans want, because what he wants is the fans want. So
yeah, and that's not always easy to do, because you put 10 fans in a room and ask them, and you make 20 different answers.
Right.
Yes.
I want to grab some comments real quick. Ben said, better that song than Ladies Aid Society.
Can't argue that.
Robert said, so glad Andrew was able to convince Rhino to expand to 4 discs for my 2 favorite Monkees albums. Ben said, I really enjoy that remix of Hard to Believe. Robert said, all the mixes are amazing. That extra backing vocal on PVS was a real surprise. And Ben said, I agree. All the remixes were great.
Awesome. Wow.
Well, sounds like everyone's pretty happy. We didn't even have anyone in the comments that was negative, and great job, commenters, because that's not always the case. Oh, okay. Well, do you want to move on?
Yes. So, Chuck, do you have a you may also like for us this week?
Yep. And for folks who don't join us regularly, what I like to do is, after we get done talking about the Monkees and related things, shout out some bands that are currently making new music that if you like the Monkees, you may also like, because we want to support new artists that are keeping sort of these styles alive. And one of those bands that we really like is the Lemon Twigs, who had a new single out this past week called I Just Can't Get Over Losing You, which is wonderful. It's a lot of fun. If you like 60s Beach Boys, Monkees, Beatles type music, they're doing a great job of doing that now without just sounding like an imitation band. I think they do a really good job of doing their own thing with it and sort of blending the different styles of different bands together.
And their video for it was in black and white, so it looks like extra Beatlesy.
And
the way that they're dressed looks extra
But
Beatlesy.
speaking of that, I wanted to give a shout out to a band called the Melons, who are a lot newer, who we really like, and they have a new single out that's called Black and White, and it's a very catchy song. So check out the Melons and the Lemon Twigs if you like the Monkees.
There's
you may
all for their things.
You may also like them.
Sorry.
Go ahead now.
Lemon Twigs and the Melons.
Sorry, was my sentence getting your way? You go right
yes,
ahead.
it was. It was getting in the way of my joke.
All right. Hey, before we do that though, thank you everyone for joining us. We're trying to make Wednesday our new night. So we've been a little bit inconsistent over the last several months with some personal things going on. So we all got together and decided, like, we're gonna go live on Wednesdays. And then the first time we tried it, we had internet problems. So off to a great start. So, but join us Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'd like to talk about the Monkees and other related things. Speaking of which, we've got sort of a special show that we're planning next Wednesday. I don't know if we want to announce that or if we want to keep it a secret. What do you look excited? Because next Wednesday is April the 1st. So we planned sort of a special show for it.
Ooh, don't spoil it.
Oh yeah, I don't think we can spoil
we'll
it.
join
I want to talk about it, but
join us next Wednesday for a little bit of a different version of our show. But then after that, we'll go back into monkeying around and talking about the Monkees. We've got a lot of great shows and great guests planned. So thank you everyone for joining us and for being so active in the comments. We really appreciate it.
Yes, and if you have any ideas for episodes you'd like us to do, or if you would like to join us, Elaine says keep it a secret also. Yes. Then let us know. We would love to have more guests come on and talking about Monkees and how much they love the Monkees and all that fun stuff.
Or even if you just want to log in and have a little Monkees hang every Wednesday night at 8. Or if you can't make it, it's available after the fact on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform.
Yep.
So go right ahead.
All right, Derek, where can people find more of you?
Well, not on next week's show. I'll pop in. I'll try to pop in on the comments though. I'm in the dark too. I have no idea what your plan. So I'm intrigued now. The mixinglinksbook.com for the book that hopefully will eventually be coming out about the all that lovely mix variation stuff that I talked about, and you can find at mixinglinksbook.com. There's some writing samples. There's some up-to-date information about just the basic rundown of what versions are on what releases, and a link to the Mixing Links Monkees on Disc Facebook group.
And how about you, Alan?
If you were to just by chance head over on the ye old internet to cosmiccreative.com, KOZMIC creative.com, you would find not only my newest Doctor Who books, Time Flight, volumes 1 and 2, which just came out a couple of months ago, but you would also discover that I host another music podcast. So everybody who listens to this show obviously are music fans. So go listen to Modern Musicology. Our most recent episode was all about this year's nominees for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I will say that we're part of the ESO network, and we always insert an ad from one of the other shows into each one of our shows. And I put the Monkeying Around ad right after in the show. I go on a very cussy rant about putting the Monkees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I felt like it was a nice little segue right into advertising your show. Perfect. So everybody go listen to that. It's a fun episode. Of course, everything we do is fun. So.
All right. How about us, Chuck?
Feltnerdy.com. And Veronica and I do a lot of puppetry, both all ages puppetry at libraries and children's theaters and things like that, to very raunchy adult burlesque puppetry as Felt Nerdy and Dirty. So you can find Felt Nerdy for the family-friendly stuff across social media, or Felt Nerdy and Dirty. Don't bring it up on your work computer or something like that, because not joking. But Felt Nerdy or Felt Nerdy and Dirty.
Yes. And
Earth Station Trek, which is a podcast that we do with Alan here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We talk about Star Trek. So this week we are going through the Star Trek intros, the theme songs, and we'll be reacting to them, commenting on them, basically from the start of the franchise as far as we get until we get to part 2. It's going to be a cliffhanger. You have to see what happens.
Definitely will.
So join us Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern as Earth Station Trek, or on your favorite podcast platform.
All right. Thanks for monkeying around.